All right, the lineup is back, and we have another superstar guest with us today, unimpeachably one of the greatest surfers ever to step foot on a surfboard, a person who's been in the international limelight since before they were even a teenager, but she's also one of the rare early talents that not only lived up to the hype, but has over-delivered. 27 CT victories, 5 world titles, an Olympic gold medal. She stepped away from full-time competition in 2024. She became a mom to her beautiful daughter in 2025. Happy birthday to her, by the way. And now, on the eve of the 2026 Championship Tour season, she's coming back to the World Tour. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today the inimitable Carissa More. Carissa, thanks so much for joining us on the lineup.
Oh, thank you for having me. What an introduction. Thank you, Dave.
Just buttering you up, you know.
I know.
Where are we talking to you from today? What's going on with you?
So you are talking to me from my hale in Hawaii. And at the moment, my daughter is taking her morning nap. So, yeah.
Good for you. And your daughter turned 1 this week. Happy birthday to her, and big congratulations to you and Luke. But you also got some waves yesterday, so it sounds like you're doing all right on the balance stuff. Where'd you surf?
I actually drove out to the North Shore and surfed Lonnie's. So I really appreciate you being flexible. And, you know, I'm trying to juggle it all right now. Training and preparation definitely looks a lot different this time around. You know,
I said to producer Miguel after we made the rescheduling, I'm like, of all the reasons to reschedule, icon Carissa More asking if it's okay to go surfing. I'm like, it's not even a question. Of course we're going to do this.
No, thank you so much. I definitely have to, it's been a tricky couple weeks with swell and weather and stuff. And so I've been trying to use a couple of those in between moments to really spend time with my daughter and do all the sponsorship stuff and put stickers on my board. And then when the surf is good, I'm like, okay, I need to prioritize this and make this take advantage of it.
It really seems like of all the professional sports, due to the dynamic nature of the ocean and having to clock swell direction, wind, tide, etc., surfing must be one of the most challenging to have a good balance, right? Because, if you're training on a court, it's like a static field of play. You can schedule your day out and go okay, between these hours, I'm going to work out on the court, or I'm going to practice X, Y, and Z. With surfing, it's so different, and picking those windows is probably, a magnitude order more difficult.
Oh my gosh. Well, totally. I think in the past, my schedule revolved around the surf, but now it actually revolves around my daughter. So it's whenever I can get a babysitter, whenever she's taking a nap, it's okay, I'm going to surf, and whether the conditions are good or not, I'm going. So it has really simplified things for me, in a way, which is nice. It's just kind of okay, I have time, I've got to go. And I only have an hour and a half, so I have to be efficient.
You know what? I've experienced that on the complete opposite end of the surfing ability spectrum, of course. But I've heard that from so many people where they're well, I don't even have a window to think about it. I'm just surfing for these 90 minutes, and I will surf what's in front of me, and I'll get what I need to get done. And it sounds like you found a little bit of that too.
Yeah. And I think that that's almost been a blessing, because it does translate to competition in the way that hey,
right.
Okay, the comp is on and you are going to surf at 11:30, whether it's good or not good, you're going to have to paddle out. So, and do your thing. So I think it's actually been a positive for me kind of leading into the season.
I love that. And that probably gets me to maybe one of the first big questions, first big important one maybe. And I'm going to do a little bit of a wind up to orient us, so bear with me. You're returning to the CT in 2026, the surfing world, myself included, could not be happier. But I was going through the timeline just to refresh my memory, because a lot has happened the last few years. You and I sat down in your beautiful home at the end of 2019. You just won your 4th of 5 world titles. And we talked about you taking 2020 off to take a break. Little did we know we'd all be taking 2020 off. You returned in 2021. You won your 5th world title. 2022, 2023, world runner-up. Start of 2024, you announce not a retirement. I don't think surfers like using that word. You could look at Aki, Kelly, Steph, John as recent examples, but stepping away from full-time CT competition. You focused on the Paris Olympics. That year it was held in Tahiti. after bowing out of the Olympic Games, you sounded a little unsure of the future, which is understandable, quite a busy year. Your daughter arrives in 2025. You announce a return to the CT in 2026. That seems like a whole lot in just a little bit of time. So my question finally is, was there a specific moment, I guess between the Olympics in 2024 and then like November 2025 when you announced, where you said to yourself, I am coming back to the CT? Or was it maybe more something that was percolating in the background the whole time? I'm curious.
I think it was always a little bit like percolating. I didn't, like you said, close the door on competition completely.
Right.
It was like, hey, I definitely want to give myself the space and grace to start my family, enjoy whatever that looks like, and not have this pressure of like, oh, I need to start training again because I got to be back in performing at my top level so I can compete, you know? So I definitely like knowing who I am, I like, that was always kind of like, hey, a possibility, but I didn't want to put that pressure on myself. And then after I gave birth and started to find my feet again and in the wax, I started to get more confidence, and it just felt good to kind of like work towards something again. And then I was like, I was still very unsure when I made the decision, like in November, the weeks leading up. I was like, can I do this? Do I want to do this? Do I want to bring my family on the road? There were so many like questions and doubts, but then I was like, I kind of just need to take the leap and go. I'm healthy enough, and just being able to share this journey with my daughter is really important to me. I know she won't really remember it, but I hope one day she'll be able to look back and be like, hey, my mom, even though maybe things weren't perfect, maybe she was a little scared, she still followed her passions and still went after her dreams. And I feel really good about that. And I'm really excited about this season, going into it with a different perspective and a different outlook and a refreshed approach. Because I think, to be completely honest, I was feeling a little burnt out after coming runner-up 2 years in a row. And I think for myself, I just needed to fill my cup up in a different way and fall in love with surfing again and just be present with life.
That makes a ton of sense. And I mean, it's interesting too. Like, I think, you know, with love and respect to Kelly Slater, he shifted the Overton window on like what a CT career looks like in terms of the amount of time you're on tour, right? It's like, hey, and everyone kind of looks at some of these elite level surfers and multi-world champs and say, oh, they're stepping away from the CT after only 15 years. It's like 15 years, 20 years is a lot of time, you know? And Kelly's like, well, I was on for 30. And everyone's like, well, maybe, yeah, that's not good for anybody, really. Like, so it's interesting to hear you talk about that. It makes all the sense in the world. The other thing that you said that struck me as interesting is, even when surfers of a very, very high level like yourself step away from the tour, what I've heard sometimes after a bit of time away is they go, well, I don't really have the structure in my professional surfing life. And not that that's everything, but, you know, they'd say like, it was nice having a Snapper Rocks event coming up, because then I'd go look for right-handers, and that's how I would kind of like work. When there's nothing there, you're kind of like, it's nice to have the freedom, but the structure and having a balance is maybe nice too.
Yeah, no, I definitely I think that has always been what I've loved about competitive surfing. Obviously, like, winning is great, but it's really been the process and the journey that I've fallen in love with, like the getting up early, the working towards something, the failing, the overcoming challenges, pushing past that wall of fear, doing something that I never thought I could do. And then when it all comes together, because there are so many variables in surfing, so much outside of your control, it is so special. And I think that, like, I don't know, as human beings, when you actually find that, I think we talk about it as like our flow zone. When you get that zone and everything flows and you're like not thinking, but you're just like letting it come from you. It's so magical. So I feel like, I don't know, that's a feeling that I feel really grateful that I get to hopefully just not chase again, but I get to pursue again. And that feels like a huge gift.
Totally. You know, you talked a little bit about like the opportunity to show up for your daughter and to show her the world in a way. But, you know, coming back to the CT in 2026, like, do you have specific like competitive goals? And maybe it is like show your family the world, show the world you're still an elite surfer, like win events, win world titles, qualify for the Olympics. Maybe it's a version of all of that, but I'm wondering if, someone as successful as you with your achievements and your drive, even if you don't want to share, if there's a secret list of like, I'm here to do X, Y, and Z.
I definitely have some lofty performance goals and competitive goals. I don't want to, I really like being in this space right now where I kind of feel like the underdog in a way, coming back and being a mom. And I don't know, at least for myself, I feel like, hey, like it all feels like a bonus. So I really do want to stay in this space. But of course, I'm going to try my best. I wouldn't be here if I didn't think I could or want to do it. So I definitely want to show up and give my all at all these events. But at the same time, I guess I also want to just do it differently and have a different perspective. It's not about the results. I really do think that if I am focused on the joy and the experience, those things will come. It's been really fun to be a fan the last 2 years and watch the women progress. And I know that if I want these lofty goals to happen, I'm really going to have to step up, but I'm excited about that challenge. And it's been so cool just to, watch where the level is at and how competitive all the girls are. And so it's going to be great.
In the IPS, ASP, WSL history, and we're coming up on our 50th anniversary of the World Tour in 2026, there's really only a handful of surfers on the men's and women's side who you can objectively argue seismically shifted the performance standards on the sport. Now, don't get me wrong, every surfer that qualifies for the CT is in such rarefied air already, but even amongst that elite group, there are surfers that are a cut above. It shows in their results, it shows in their surfing ability. You are unquestionably one of these surfers, and I know you're very modest, but I'm going to put you on the spot just for a second because I am super curious. If you look back at your own surfing as a rookie in 2010 against the CT field at the time, what would you say your strengths and weaknesses were then as a surfer on the CT?
I feel like I had a lot of weaknesses. I look back and I'm like, ooh, I didn't like how I did that turn, or I just looked a little awkward and my stance was a little narrow. I feel I think my biggest weakness as a rookie was the confidence, coming in as a teenager and not really feeling super comfortable in my own skin and knowing my place on the tour and traveling to places I'd never been before and figuring it out and dealing with all the pressure and stuff. I think that that was tricky, my rookie year. And for me, I feel I definitely am such an emotional surfer that if I'm not feeling good between the ears, I think it really translates into the lines that I draw. And so I feel when I watch myself surf at that time, I feel I can really tell that maybe I wasn't as confident as I am now or as comfortable as I am in my skin now.
Sure. I mean, but in that said, a third in your rookie season's amazing. So I'm going to force you to list at least one strength you had in your surfing as a rookie in 2010.
Thank you. No, I think a strength that I did have was my support crew. I had a really good team of people behind me, including my dad, who traveled with me a lot that year, but he'd really worked with me since I was a Grom until that first year on tour. And I think he brought a lot of outside of the box thinking, using coaches in different spots that were local to the area, I think really helped me adjust quickly and learn the spot more quickly. And it also helped me to build community wherever I went, which I didn't know was something that I was missing from growing up in Hawaii, just that really strong sense of love and community that helps me perform well. So he really helped me to kind of figure out what those things were to finally find my feet in the wax,
Well, I said you were modest. So as an objective observer of the tour at that time, I will say that, and fair, when you were on, which was often, you surfed faster, stronger, and more progressive and with more style than any other surfer on the planet. It's just the truth. And that is why I say, like even amongst the elite rarefied atmosphere of every surfer that's ever qualified for the CT, there are still those surfers that pop out where you go, wow. I will follow up with the question though. And you mentioned a little bit, if you fast forward to your last full season on the CT in 2023, and think about the competitive field then, similar question, but did your relative strengths and maybe weaknesses change in relation to your peers during those 13 years? And what was it how would you answer that question if we were just talking about your last full year on tour?
I think what has been just so cool is just how the whole field of women surfers has really elevated. So there really are like no walk through heats. You can't take anyone for granted. Everyone is pushing the level, both from a performance perspective and then from like strategic approach. I think everyone knows how to surf a heat really well now. And so I think that there was less of a gap the last, obviously, from when I started as a rookie to, I feel like the playing field is a lot more even for the performances. And so I think I'm very proud of, I'm like more of a veteran now, and the last couple of years I was on tour, I feel like I was able to keep up with the young guns, life gets more complicated, I feel, as time goes on, and there's, different layers of becoming a wife and starting my own foundation and just other interests. So it wasn't just, I think I'm proud that with all that stuff, I was able to kind of like still find the motivation and enthusiasm and passion to like push myself in areas that, I feel like those younger girls are so good in waves of consequence and like pushing themselves above the lip and doing more progressive maneuvers. And I still feel like there has been a drive in me to like, okay, like I gotta try. I gotta at least try, even if I fail, even if I'm not the best in that department. I think I'm really proud that I've been able to like get out there and at least go for it. And it's super cool to have the younger generation really push us. It's really awesome.
Yeah. I mean, even on that topic too, like I was having a look at the CT calendar during your rookie season in 2010, and it was, Snapper Rocks, Bells Beach, Taranaki, DY, Sal Bartolo, Peniche, Middles in Puerto Rico, and Sunset Beach. And if you compare that to this season's schedule, and I think we have three of those waves are the same, Snapper, Bells, and Peniche. And funny enough, we're going back to New Zealand, but it's a different wave. But the point I was trying to kind of round on was that the CT that you started your career in, and the one really that you prepared for as a rookie, the one that predated your rookie season, it's kind of a wildly different place from a performance canvas standpoint. The women's CT schedule now regularly includes waves like Teohopu, Cloudbreak, and Pipeline, radically different, right, than the tour that you qualified for. And you're surfing in waves of consequence, to be fair, is really what propelled, I think, the evolution in women's surfing. And now you're rejoining a tour that not only has venues like these, but as you pointed out, it's populated by young surfers like Molly Picklum, Katie Simmers, Betty Lou, Caroline, others that had developed their entire approaches around these waves and the kind of surfing you need to succeed there. And I'm curious what you make of that too, just because it's almost two different worlds in a way that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely know what I'm getting into, and it's a little bit intimidating, but at the same point, I think there's also like this humbleness that I feel like I've gained over the last couple years, being able to watch the girls come up and appreciate their surfing and be a fan. And I think just a sense of gratitude to be able to be a part of it and to be pushed, and also just this understanding and grace for myself that like over the last year and a half, I haven't had the time or capacity to really push myself in those areas that I would like to prepare for this season. But just hopefully just relying on my experience and my past time in those scenarios to push myself, and then to go into these knowing like, hey, like it is going to be a learning scenario again when we go to these events. And yeah, it's not going to look like what it has in the past, but just super grateful to be there, and also just for the opportunity to learn once again.
The last podcast we had with Joel Parkinson, he was talking about the year he won his world title was 2012. And he actually admitted that he almost retired from the tour in 2011 in New York. He was just kind of burned out. He'd had a couple of those seasons where he'd won so much early in the season and then got hurt and then kind of had the title ripped away from him, and he was just kind of over it. And he said, he's with Jason Stevenson, JS Industries, and they're in New York, and they just kind of rounded on this idea of like, you know what, we should be comfortable with what we've achieved already. And like, and he brought up, Kelly Slater's kind of, how do I want to put it? Like confession about like letting go about some of stuff at some point in his career, and how that the mentality of letting go and having something different enter in is actually what propelled him to win so much. And Joel kind of cited that. And I bring it up because even hearing you talk about like, it'll be nice to enter in as the underdog. We could talk about how objective that is or not, but I get it, because of all the hype, very valid around you since you were a preteen through now. It's like it must just feel nice to go, I have space to breathe heading into this year in terms of like expectations that people put on me.
Yeah. And I think maybe expectations for myself.
Sure.
I think I've been really hard on myself most of my life and most of my career. And I think it's been a blessing and a curse because it definitely has gotten me to be as successful as I have been. But then I think also made me overthink and doubt myself and all of that. So I think having my daughter has really made me look at myself in a different way. I feel like she's helped me realize a different strength and power I never knew I had. And also just like seeing her as like a pure being, I'm like, your worth is not dependent on your achievements or your appearance or what other people think of you. You just existing is the most amazing miracle. And so I think sometimes it's really gotten me to look at how I talk to myself and how I've talked to myself in the past. And it's been nice to just kind of appreciate myself more and give myself a little more grace. And so that's where I'm trying to, I think I'm going to definitely carry that with me this year.
I love it. It's beautiful. We're going to take a quick break to get a word in from our sponsors, and we will be right back.
Okay, I think I'm good.
Okay.
She is currently...
We will roll through.
Sleeping, sort of.
Sleeping, sort of. That's like a good book title. Sleeping, sort of. Parenting tips from the real world. Okay. All right, welcome back to the lineup. I am Dave Proden here with 5-time world champion Carissa More. Yeah, Carissa, we were talking a little bit about family just before the break, and your husband Luke, your daughter Elena, and it did kind of have me think about, I mentioned we spoke to Joel Parkinson the last episode, and he brought up how, he and Monica at the time were in a pretty unique situation of bringing their family on tour back kind of in the mid to late aughties. And he acknowledged that, of course, it was difficult, that surfing on the CT and contending for world titles can be a really kind of selfish pursuit. But he really backed his decision as those experiences for his family and his children were just priceless. And, with the upcoming season starting in a few weeks, and I'm sure you've given a lot of thought about how this is going to look and feel and experience is different than it's ever been. But I'm curious if you can share just a little bit more about where your head's at on you talked about, maybe your daughter just being a beautiful kind of perspective enhancer on things, and just, I guess, the logistics and how you're kind of looking at the season with the family in tow.
Oh my gosh. I have a little bit of anxiety just thinking about all the plane rides
Sure,
and what the travel is going to look like. Please pray for us. She is a very active little girl and she gets overstimulated on planes. So I think Luke and I we're in agreement that those days of travel we're going to black out and we're just going to get through it. But I think one of the reasons I said yes to doing it again was because the family was going to come along. I did not want to leave them at home. She's my world now. And so I couldn't imagine doing it without them. And I think it's so special. I think for me too, it's that perfect reminder, whether I win or lose, when I walk up and see them on the beach, it's like, hey, okay, that was what I did, but that's not who I am. And I am getting returned back to this pure joy. She'll my daughter loves me whether I win or lose. It's the best thing ever. And no, it's been so cool. I mean, in the past, getting to see a lot of the guys on tour bring their families. Like it's never really been a thing on the girls tour, seeing like kids around. It's so awesome that Jojo and Tati have little girls as well. And it'll be awesome to see them bring their little village along at some point. But I'm excited to, kind of be the first of our generation to travel with the family.
I love it. And I mean, I guess like in a way, right? Like most surfers of the modern era, they do travel or have traveled like with a version of a family in the form of like a support network, right? It's like coaches and managers, shapers, spouses, friends, parents. I am curious, like throughout your CT career, were there any events where you just went Han Solo and just did it by yourself?
I never did an event just by myself. Like I kind of mentioned before, I really thrive on community and like love and feeling that support. So even if it was just me and Mitch or me and a coach, I was never by myself. For that, I'm really grateful for all the people that have believed in me and taken the time to be away from their own families and their own homes to help me achieve and chase my dreams.
Yeah. You know, a person of your talents, for as long as you've had them, of course, attracts elite level sponsorship. You've been partnered with some major ones throughout your career, and to name a few, you know, like Roxy, Red Bull, Nike, Hurley, FCS. I'm sure I'm missing a few. We'll get to Matt in a second, of course. And those kinds of partners, they don't only provide financial support, but a lot of them do have that network support, whether it's training or coaching, you know, exposure to different kinds of athletes and the way that they approach their craft. And I'm curious if anything stands out to you, either in recent years or even back during your prior kind of CT run, as a kind of support moment or experience that you had from a sponsor that maybe most people didn't see.
Oh my gosh. I think there's a lot that happens behind the scenes from my family of sponsors that people don't see. There's been so many different training trips that Red Bull has helped align that, you know, whether that's a trip to a barreling wave or to a wave pool to get that training in to elevate my performance, working with coaches that are just absolutely amazing and have invaluable insight. I also just like shout out to the APC at Red Bull who helped me kind of take some fitness measurements postpartum so that I could really see where I was at and map out how I wanted to come back. So that was like those kinds of resources not everybody has. And I was just really grateful to tap into that. And no, I mean, gosh, there's been getting to work with amazing photographers and videographers and capture such sweet moments that have become memories that I can look at and cherish forever. That's pretty cool too.
That's really cool. You know, and I have to ask, I might be like part of a very small group of people that's fascinated by this, but there's sort of this, maybe it's apocryphal, maybe it's not, but there was a story of a meeting in Hawaii all those years ago where they brought both the Nike team and the Hurley team, which were both pretty large, like in their own rights at the time, together. And they told them they were merging together as some sort of like super team, like under the Hurley banner. I'm just curious if you were in any of those meetings, you know, did anyone throw a tantrum over it? I'm always fascinated by that period of time.
It's so funny. I actually was a part of that meeting and I don't really remember any tantrums, but I do remember I was really like thrown off. I was like, is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? It ended up being super cool. Like I've had a great journey with Hurley over the years, especially when Bob and the whole crew were there in the beginning. That was so fun. I just want to say I'm so grateful that all my sponsors have stood by me through this season of my life. I think it was one of the things I was really nervous, scared about was, you know, becoming a mom and wondering if I would still have that support. And I think it's just been really nice to see that, like for all the moms recently, like from Honolulu to Joanne, to Tati, the sponsors are like, hey, like we're going to back you guys. We're going to stand by you through this season. And I think that's super beautiful. And it's nice to just set that precedence.
Yeah, no, it's such a good point. And I mean, in the modern world, in the storytelling environment, it's so relatable. Like there's moms everywhere and they love seeing that kind of stuff because it inspires them to do things in their own lives. One of your longtime collaborators and supporters is, of course, Matt Biolos of Lost Surfboards. Matt is now the 3-time CT Shaper of the Year. We've been running the Vissla CT Shaper ranking since 2023. And I was talking to someone about this the other day. I'm like, he wouldn't have won it the year before we started doing this. And since we started, it's like his team has been on this mid-90s Chicago Bulls run, like in terms of dominance. You are, I believe, unless I'm committing a surfing sin here, you were Lost's very first world champion. Can you tell us about how you and Matt started working together?
Oh, I love Matt. We started working together. When did we start working together? I think it was around the time that I signed with like Red Bull, Hurley, Nike and Target, and kind of, it was just a time where things were starting to speed up, and he just came in with like a really great like energy, and I think he was very like dependable. Like his boards have been magic from the start. Like anytime I get a board, like I pretty much know it's going to work, and we've just really built like a nice relationship of understanding like, okay, what do I want, and how I speak and translate, then he's able to put that into board form. I'm not like the most technical person when it comes to shapes and sizes and stuff, but he gets what I'm saying.
That's awesome. The great Strider Wazalewski loves to claim that he was Mayhem's first team rider, but I think we absolutely need to carve out like Mayhem's first world champion, because that absolutely was an important moment in terms of his future success. And, over the stellar run on the CT you've had, like when you look back, or were there any particular boards or even board models that stand out to you as being special?
Oh, I owe a lot to Matt. He makes the most amazing equipment. He's one of the best shapers in the world. His track record is testament to that. And just the types of people who are riding his boards, I think shows that everyone trusts him and trusts his shapes and the way that he does his work. And he works really hard, and I really appreciate that. And he wants to build a relationship with his riders, and he cares, and he asks the right questions, and he does things with intention. And that's something that I deeply admire and respect. I think I'm getting a little off topic. I forget where we were going.
I'm just curious if you're like, that's the model that that's the one, that did it for me.
Yeah. I love just the step driver. That's kind of been my go-to board on tour from small waves to big waves. Right. It's just like the driver 2.0 to the step driver. It's what I always ride. And then I love, what's the board? Oh my gosh. I'm having a brain fart.
Well, you're excused. He's got 400 different models. So it's like
yeah, no, but like pretty much all his boards are good.
Yeah. I keep bringing this up, but it's, I mean, you guys are kind of in very, again, rarefied within the rarefied atmosphere. But one of the things Parko was saying in the last episode is that when he retired, he didn't ride a normal thruster for like 18 months. And I'm curious, when you were full-time on tour the first time, how often did you actually experiment with different shapes or technologies? And then second question is that when you did step away from full-time competition a couple of years ago, what was your go-to board for surfs at that moment?
Yes, I really didn't stray from the thruster step driver model for, I don't know, for how long I was on tour. I just didn't really have the time or the capacity. And then the off season, I was just kind of like, okay, I had a few weeks to kind of chill, but then it was kind of back to work to prepare for the next season. Sure. So I really didn't play around with equipment too much, especially since I try to keep it as simple as possible. Same fins, same board model, and then just really focus on figuring out the conditions. And there's so many things that you have to align. So if you can for me, it's always been keep that simple. After the Olympics in 2024, I was actually pregnant during the Olympics. So everything just kind of moved pretty quick after that. And I called Matt up and he gave me some transition boards as I gained weight and just wanted to go out and have fun. So I was riding a lot of like mid-lengths and some twins and kind of just like enjoyed being in the water, and not having an agenda was really cool.
Were there any kind of insights from that time? And maybe it was more mental, but maybe it did have something to do with just riding different equipment where you went, oh, like that's starting to like give me a little bit of a different perspective on how to view maybe that part of my surfing or this part of the wave. Maybe not. I'm just curious if there was anything that kind of like a light bulb went off and you're like, oh, all right, like that's interesting.
I don't know if there was like ever a real light bulb that went off on like how to approach a wave, so to say. Definitely being pregnant and surfing pregnant got me to really slow things down and generate, look for that part of the wave so I could generate speed, because I couldn't generate it myself. It was really humbling, to be honest, because I've spent so much of my life going out trying to train or produce or put a wave together. And all of a sudden I like literally can't. I couldn't. And so I had to just go out and surf because I wanted to be in the water. And that was like just so beautiful. And I couldn't stay away. And so it was just really cool to see. I genuinely just love being in the water and I love riding waves. I mean, there was a point where I had such a big belly. My butt was high up in the air. I looked like an inchworm, and everyone in the water was like, what are you doing out here? I was just like, I just want to be here. I just want to ride a wave because it feels good. It gives me confidence. It empowers me. And it makes me feel like myself during a time that I feel so disconnected and so out of the ordinary. So I think in that respect, it just really made me appreciate that. Like, I love surfing and when it comes down to it.
I love that. Well, I mean, you don't have to take my advice, but I'm not going to be mad if I see like a round nose fish or a Pisces in the board bag at like Raglan or something. So, just think of that.
I'm definitely contemplating maybe I bring like that mid-length that both Luke and I can ride on lay days.
Fair enough. We're going to take one more break, and then when we return, we will wrap up our conversation with Carissa Moore. Welcome back to the lineup. I'm Dave Prodan here with the one and only Carissa More. So Carissa, you and I, we were talking. It's Friday, February 27th. This episode's going to air Tuesday, March 10th, I think. Miguel, he can bleep me if I made a mistake there. The WSL Awards, it's March 29th. The opening event of the 2026 WSL Championship Tour season, the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach, starts on April 1st. Between now and then, what happens for Carissa More? What parts of your life are you prioritizing? How do you get to a place where you're like, I'm ready for battle?
Ooh, yeah. Well, the first thing on the calendar is I'm throwing my daughter a major rager on Sunday. So
Perfect.
I'm organizing balloons and shirts and flowers. So that's like, I need to kind of get that out of the way. And then just spending a lot of time in the water, hopefully training, and then doing some time in the gym. And I think for me, what I need the most is some time to just reflect on where and how I want to where I want to be and how I want to compete for this year. I think that making sure that I am super connected to like my why is going to be really important. And so just making sure I'm really settled in between the ears and feeling confident, and making sure all the things for travel for my daughter, for Luke and myself are all good. So I don't have to think too much about it.
I feel you. Well, before you go, we put out a feeler for questions from the Instagram community at the Lineup Pod. We got a lot of questions for you. We've whittled them down to 3. First question's from @TooCool for Megan, who asks, if you were not a professional surfer, what career do you think you would be in?
Well, if I wasn't a surfer, I think I would probably be like a teacher or do something with kids, because I just love their energy, and I love the idea of being of service to others. And I think putting energy in that next generation is so important. I have my foundation, More Aloha, and I love just creating communities and spaces for girls and women to come together to share. And so honestly, that's probably what I would put my heart and soul and all my time into, is just really growing the programs and events we have with that.
That's wonderful. And we'll definitely put a link to the More Aloha in our show notes. It does so much good for so many communities. It's really amazing. Second question is from @WillyGoat0230, who asks, great to see you back, Riss, but how did you deal with the 2 lowers losses? This is asked with love. You talked about it a little bit, but curious if you have anything else to add on that.
Yeah, I think I don't really know if I've talked super openly about it. It was really heartbreaking for me. I think, when you put all of just everything you have into a dream and you come up short, it's really hard. So, we all go through it in life, and we have to figure out ways to process it, feel it, and then pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and try again. And after the first one, I was really proud of myself. I think I came back and won the first event of the year in 23. And then, I think had another great year that it kind of just happened all again. And it's okay. I think it was all meant to happen. Looking back at it now, I think that it really allowed me to step away so I could be at peace with having a family and having my daughter. I think it led me to where I am now, that I feel, not that I have unfinished business, but there's still a fire to want to see what I can do. So, it hurt. I was bummed. I don't think I was depressed, but I was definitely really bummed for a little while, and it took some time to get over. But I believe everything happens for a reason. I learned a lot about who I am, the type of people that the community that I've built, the love that I've found, they really showed up during that time. I found what I had built in those moments, and I'm really proud of the people that I have around me.
Yeah, that's beautifully put. And we've seen it in surfing before the finals era, during the finals era. You see it in every sport. It's like getting right up to the limit of winning a world title or winning a it takes so much energy. And you see almost across every sport that there's people have to step back after that, or even it's they don't perform as well. And it's it's just the way it goes. But, I'm glad that you view it that way, because it's brought you back to this moment, which is excellent. Being on the lineup, not coming back to tour, of course. I'm joking. Last one is from @Lonnie_Coco, who asks, the big one to finish on. In what ways do you feel like you've made an impact on women's surfing?
Don't ask me that question.
I'm reading it and I'm it's the last thing she wants. You know what?
I'm the worst person to ask that question, because I will probably beat around the bush in all the ways that you can. So
that's my job and everyone else's job to say that, what impact you made on surfing, which is immeasurable. So anyway.
Thank you, Dave.
Last segment, lightning round. 10 questions for you to answer as quickly as you can. I actually have your answers from 2019, so I can heat check you. If you could only have one board set up for the rest of your life, single fin, twin fin, thruster, quad bonzer, or finless, which would you choose?
Probably a twin setup.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Burrito or pizza?
Pizza.
Pretty consistent. Last book you read?
The Housemaid.
Okay.
The Handmaid, The Housemaid, The Housemaid. It's the one that's a movie right now.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Is it good?
I enjoyed it. Yeah. And they did a pretty good job with the movie.
Okay. Best surf film ever?
Best surf film ever? There's a lot of really good ones out there, but I think the one that had the most impact on my life and growing up and being an athlete was Kelly Slater, Black and White.
Oh man, that is dead on what you answered 7 years ago. Right, so 6. It's not that much time. What is one wave you never have to go back to?
One wave I never have to go back to.
This was easier back when you were taking 2020 off. I mean, it's like,
I'm like having a hard time thinking, like, where do I not want to go? I don't know. There's like, it's all good. It's all good.
that's fair. You don't have to answer. That's all good. Well, and I mean, what I mean by you don't have to answer is like that perspective's totally fair. To be like, I'm happy going anywhere. It's also, I think, a very good parent perspective because, as we said, it's like I'll take what I can get for that window. I'm surfing.
Yeah.
If you only get to surf one wave for the rest of your life, and you can dreamcast it, perfect conditions, just you and whoever you want, which wave would it be?
Probably Honolulu Bay.
Best person to share a lineup with?
Olena.
Worst person to share a lineup with?
I'm just not gonna say.
That is consistent with 2019. Last one. Finish this sentence. I will next achieve a state of happiness by
taking my daughter surfing this afternoon.
Wonderful. Carissa Moore, thank you so much for coming back on the lineup. Congratulations to you and your family. Congratulations on an amazing career already, and I cannot wait to see what you're going to do this season. I really appreciate you and everything you do, and I'll catch up with you soon.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you too, and I look forward to catching up in person.